Now, we have gone from that to Sexy Red describing the color of her genitalia and her anus as the hook in a song. That's the hook. That's the the portion of the song that's repeated the most.
Just in case any of you were wondering, pink and brown. How about that?
Jesus Christ.
It is the worst thing ever written, and it is hilariously bad, and I can't stop myself from laughing. Okay, you ready? Here we go. I'm out of town, thuggin' with my rounds, my coochie pink, my booty hole brown.
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Grundy and J channel. I'm Grundy. This is Jay. For those of you who don't know, we don't just record a video and it magically appears on the internet. We try to record a couple of these at once. And while we were looking for videos for this week, we happened to stumble into a theme.
We fell on a theme, yeah.
So welcome to the first of what I think is 3 videos for this week in our series, The Kids Are Not All Right.
The kids are not all right.
The kids are fucked.
That is the theme for this week.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
So the video that we have for you this week is actually one that we recorded several months ago that didn't, it ended up, and we ended up having, I think, audio corruption. There was issues with it.
We had a snafu.
We had to scrap it, but it's worth. I think it's totally worth commenting on. It's one that we have some pretty deep feelings for, and it's one that I think that should be shared because people should be aware of this. So we're gonna redo that video for you.
Yeah, normally when people do this type of internet grift that we're doing right now, they usually like to strike while the iron's hot. There's a reason we're addressing a 5-month-old video. We think it's important.
It did go very viral, and for good reason. So without further ado, we're gonna watch the video and share some of our thoughts, feelings, and here you go.
I'm calling out all the parents. If you're a parent and your child is in pre-K to elementary school to high school, I'm calling you out. The children today, I have never experienced, and I'm 22.
I have a nephew and a niece who are 6 and 4, and they're lovely. Therefore, she's wrong.
She's almost a kid herself. She's 22 years old.
She's 22 years old.
But you can see, you can tell. Obviously, this girl has some sense. She's not completely out of touch with decency, and she seems like a virtuous young lady.
Well, her contrast for what makes her contrast for what she's describing right now is probably her own upbringing, and she's probably seeing these kids get away with stuff that she would have never got away with as a child herself, which is kind of how I feel about, to be honest, 25-year-olds right now. They probably got away with a ton of stuff that we never got away with. Now they have their own kids, and those kids are getting away with stuff they would have never got away with. And it's all a race to the bottom.
Having to teach and work with you guys as children has been the most traumatic experience of my life. I teach 5-year-olds ballet. 5-year-old girls ballet. I have a class of 10 students. They don't respect any authority. You ask them, can you stand in your designated spot? They're telling you no and shut up. They're throwing things at each other. They're throwing things at other people, other classmates. You say, can everybody sit in their spot? I don't want to. I'm not doing that. You don't get to tell me what to do. You're not my mom.
This you're not my mom thing, it's just it's just meant to the fact that the kids are being allowed to say this, and then it does shut down the authority figure. It really it kind of just, okay, yeah, I'm not your mom, but I'm the authority in this situation. And the kids are just they're gonna throw that just as a way of completely dismissing whatever direction they're getting from the authority figure. And in this case, as she's saying, the parents are backing the child up.
I mean, we used to have teachers that would hear that very same comment, "You're not my mom," and they would say, "You're damn right, I'm not your mom. I wouldn't care if you went missing. I don't give a shit if you fail my class. I'm not the one who's gonna," you know what I mean? I'm not the one who's gonna look like a jerk when my kid has to repeat the 4th grade. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not your mom. You're right. I'm not your mom.
Well,
I don't have to put up with your crap. I'm not your mom.
Unfortunately, the mom in this case, again, condoning it, actually backing up the child, allowing this to take place.
That's part of what confuses me, because presumably this mother actually like pays money to this woman to teach her child ballet.
But she thinks it's daycare is the thing. It's like, oh, well, take her off my hands for a little bit so that I don't have the headache anymore. That's the feeling that I get from it. I feel like
Is ballet class cheaper than daycare? Is that the problem? Because lady, you could fix your problem by just like doubling the price of ballet. Like, make it more expensive than daycare and people will stop pretending it's daycare.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You confront the parent. The parent tries to argue with you and fuss at you because you tried to reprimand and redirect their kid. I told a young little girl, please sit in your spot. You're not my mom. You don't tell me what to do. Okay. When her mom came to pick her up, I said, hey, your daughter's having a hard time following instructions. And 7 times today I've had to redirect her to just sit in her spot. Well, clearly she didn't want to sit. And mind you, this is a mom. Clearly she didn't want to sit right there. So, I mean, if she's telling you she don't want to do something, why keep asking her to do it? You know she's not going to do it. What world do we live in?
Back in the 1990s, I know it's like 100 years ago, guys, we had this one teacher, and he described to us what it was like when he went to high school in the 1960s, okay? And he told us that if you misbehaved in your class, the teacher would take you, he'd bring you out in the hallway, and he would kick your ass, okay?
Ruler. The ruler was like a famous thing. Taking the ruler, smacking the kids with a ruler was an actual thing that would happen.
Happened to me. Anyway, and then he would tell your dad that he had to take you out in the hall and kick your ass, and your dad would take you home and he would kick your ass.
Yeah.
And that was basically, what? The teacher says you're causing trouble, and then dad was like, the authority come down on you. And now it seems, I don't know, this turn started happening around the 1990s too, where the parents started blaming the teachers for the kids' shortcomings, as if like those behavior issues don't stem from being at home.
There's this whole thing. There's this guy now. He's not a new psychologist or whatever, but Gabor Mate.
And if you're a good parent, you're going to frustrate your 2-year-old. And I don't mean deliberately. I just mean when they want a cookie before dinner, you're not going to give them a cookie. You're going to say, no cookie before dinner. Well, if he's a healthy 2-year-old, they're going to throw a tantrum because they're frustrated. But then you read Jordan Peterson's book. And he says an angry child should be made to sit by themselves so they come back to normal. It's not normal for a kid to be angry. So the kid gets the message. If I'm going to experience my genuine self, I'm going to lose my attachment.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
Gabor Mate referred to Jordan Peterson, who said when a child is throwing a tantrum, you should have them sit alone by themselves and learn that, this is not acceptable. And he said, what this is in effect doing is teaching that child that they in order to be acceptable, in order to not sacrifice the attachment to their guardian, to their parent, who they depend on, they're having to suppress their authentic self, which I think is absolute bullshit. Because wanting a cookie, your lowest impulses, your desires, are not a reflection of your most authentic self. And I think this is kind of analogous to what's going on here. Is this whole thing became very popular where it's like, we cannot punish the kids. We cannot reprimand the children. We cannot punish them. There's no spanking their bums, no any of that. Which I agree or not, I think that the whole idea that you have to let them throw the tantrum and give them the freedom to do that in order for them to not fear losing the attachment. No, there do have to be consequences when a child is behaving in a way that is unacceptable. People have to learn to control those impulses, and they're not a reflection of your authentic self.
By that logic, a dog shitting on the carpet because it hasn't been trained to wait until it goes for a walk, that's a dog, just a dog being its authentic self. A dog biting your cat or biting the other pets. Well, just because it hasn't been trained not to do it, well, that's just a dog being its authentic self, right? You know what I mean? Dog going crazy every time the whale man, walks by because he couldn't take the time to train it. Well, no, I'm not. It's not that I'm lazy and I didn't take the time to train it properly. It's that I'm just letting the dog be its authentic self. Which sounds really stupid when you make it a dog instead of a child, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I not that there's. I don't think that it's completely like. I don't think that it's without foundation. That like, okay, that the child can learn in the like. I just don't think the cookie's the right example. I don't think the cookie is an expression of the most authentic self. I think that like a child expressing his deep emotions about something, expressing his desires or ambitions or something, artistic desires, something that is very that you can see obviously inspires the child, especially a toddler. Those things should be encouraged, I think. But to desire a cookie and throw a tantrum when you're not going to get one, I think that's kind of what's going on here with the pound. Anyway, that hasn't come up yet, but I think that's kind of what's going on here with these kids. Is that like, at some point, these parents were told, it's not okay to force the child to do something that the child doesn't want to do.
That's called parenting.
That's called parenting. There have to be boundaries. People need to learn how to operate within the boundaries of society and adhere to a social contract where we are considerate and conscientious of one another's needs. It's not all about you. We have to learn that. And the children have to learn that at a certain point. It's just to have no kind of guardrails on what behavior is acceptable and not is just creating these little terrors, these little emperors.
Remember, if you don't let her eat ice cream for dinner, you're not letting her be her authentic self.
Like, what in you guys' brain as a parent says, my kid not following any directions is a great thing. It's not that serious, and y'all don't have a right to tell her what to do. It's sad. It's sad. It's really, really sad.
So I watch a lot of family court drama on the internet because it's one of my guilty pleasures. I watch it. I'm going to reference it a lot. But one of the things that routinely comes up is one of the parents will just basically let the child do whatever they want, no punishment, no rules. And they do this to like build a place where the child wants to be instead of where the child needs to be. Meanwhile, you have another parent who's like, no, you got to go to school. You got to follow the rules. You got to do this. No, you're going to have chores. You're going to do this. And the child doesn't want to go there. And so that one parent will do this intentionally to like breed contentment of the other parent. And I mean, we see this routinely.
Breed resentment.
Breed resentment, yeah.
Yeah.
And we see this constantly where the judge or the referee or the guardian or whatever will basically tell them, you're basically destroying your child's life by doing this. You're destroying your child. I can't understand when people do this just because you hate your ex more than you love your child.
Exactly.
And something tells me that these little girls fucking that she's about to mention, they're not the result of fucking two parents in the household.
They're not the result of two parents in the household.
They're not the results of two parents in the household because Dad would not allow these 5-year-olds to be twerking.
This reminds me of a video I just saw yesterday about little emperors in China. It's a whole thing. Like little emperors, they're called little emperors. And it's the male kids specifically. Mm-hmm. But this is a whole tangent. I don't know if we should use this, but little emperors in China, little male kids like 10 years old, they're allowed to do anything. There's a video of a little kid kicking a girl. Like two parents are with a little girl, like a 3-year-old girl, at a table adjacent to this mother who's with her son, her 10-year-old son, and the son is kicking the little girl. They're at tables next to each other. He's kicking the little girl. She's there looking at her mother's phone. She's watching a video on the phone. He takes his ice cream, smashes it on the phone, and then the father who's there with the daughter takes the phone and is cleaning it, and the mothers are arguing while this is happening. The little boy is flipping off the father, takes the phone out of the father's hand. It's in a hot pot restaurant. He throws the phone in the hot pot. And then the guy takes takes the phone out to try to save it because it's like obviously it's gonna get fried is likely to get fried from being in the liquid.
So this family is priming their child to die in a knife fight in his teens. That's what they're doing. They're training this 10-year-old boy to basically fuck around, and we just gotta wait until this little shit finds out.
And another thing that's heart-wrenching is horrifying. It is horrifying. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking to listen to Pound Town and Ski Yee. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking, can we hear Pound Town? I'm playing them Princess Tiana ballet music. And they are asking me, can we hear Pound?
Justin, what is this skitty yitty?
Ski yeet? I don't know. I think it's a reference to the word skeet. I don't know the song, but I know that like a ski yeet is like the hook. I mean, all of these songs are just so lowest common denominator. They're such trash. They're so vulgar and crass. And this has just become mainstream entertainment. And I don't understand. Like, it has to be kids that are watching this who don't really understand what they're watching or the actual what the subject matter is actually what it's referring to. But they know that it's vulgar and that they shouldn't be listening to it maybe. But like Pound Town. You know, Britney Spears, okay, in the 90s, Britney Spears was like, her big song was Hit Me Baby One More Time. And I don't know if that was a reference.
Controversial AF.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was a reference to violence or if it was a sexual reference about, you know, hit it one more time. I'm really still not sure. I'm not clear as to what the reference was.
It could have been just like, oh, let's try the relationship again or whatever. Like it was up for debate. But
point it was ambiguous enough, right?
And the song did get in its fair share of trouble back in the day, back in 1998 or 99 when this stuff came out?
Because she was dressed sexually suggestive, and I mean, like the dance moves and everything.
And she was actually physically a minor at the time.
Yeah, and again, it was at that time something that was like, this is pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable. Our children are watching this. And now we have gone from that to Sexy Red describing the color of her genitalia and her anus as the hook in a song. That's the hook. That's the portion of the song that's repeated the most.
Just in case any of you were wondering, pink and brown. How about that?
Jesus Christ.
We had kids listening to age inappropriate stuff for even back in the 90s when I was a youngster. My parents took away my Sublime records because of the song Smoke Two Joints, and they caught my little brother listening to it. Back in the 90s, there was no internet. If you wanted to see something, you needed a video of it. You need to go into a place where they carded you to buy a video. You had to bring the video home, or an older one gave it to a teenager, and then the teenager thinks it's cool, so the younger brother wants to see it because he thinks it's cool, and it just goes down the chain like that. But there was always parents standing somewhere near the TV who could go, wait a minute, did that just say the F word? And they walk over, I'm taking this DVD away, sir. You're going to get this back when you're older, you know? But now there's literally no points of contact between the child and the hardcore crap on the internet. Okay,
it's all on
demand. Straight line, straight shot. No chance for the parents to interfere or even hear it because everyone's got their own earbuds and everything is like.
There's another one that Sexy Red is. There's another song that I heard it on the radio, and it's a song that she's with Drake. Okay, so Drake has co-signed with it. Her line in the song is "Let that coochie breathe." It's like they're talking about their genitals on the radio station.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. I was like, is this a radio song? Are the kids hearing this because it's on the radio?
Pound Town, I don't believe, plays on most radio stations, at least not during the day. But this is something that's accessible to anybody on YouTube. It's like you said, there's no filter anymore. It's all on demand. It's for anyone who wants to search for this. Yeah. And all of these kids, like she said, they already know these songs. They're 5 years old little girls twerking to this and demanding, these little unruly little bitches are demanding of this sweet 22-year-old ballet teacher to play Pound Town. Like, they know what it is already. Like, maybe they don't know what what going to Pound Town, obviously they have no idea, they have no frame of reference for what going to Pound Town is, right? Like, they don't know what that means, but they're asking for it.
In order for a 5-year-old...
They're asking for that song.
In order for a 5-year-old to start twerking, they have to see it somewhere, or they have to, like, have some adult try and trick them into it because it's funny or something like that. They don't just start doing it. It's not something that children just naturally do. Someone had to show this to them.
This overexposure to this normalized, mainstream, dripping with sexuality content that is completely inappropriate for me to hear. I don't want to hear about fucking Sexy Red's asshole color. I don't want to know. Like, I don't want to hear that. To me, it is so vulgar, and it is so, like, depraved, and just, it is so inappropriate. It's so crass. This does not belong. This is not art. This is not something that should be celebrated. However catchy the hook is, however good the melody might have been, some people might consider it to be. These words have no place in our mainstream culture.
I'm going to defend it on artistic grounds, but there should still be some kind of wall between children and explicitly adult content.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I'm so scared for these little girls today because this is the most insane agenda push I have ever seen in my life.
Acknowledging that this is an agenda that's being pushed. I mean, she's realizing that that's the case. It's obvious someone's taken the brakes off of, like, hey, what is virtuous and appropriate, and we're just mainlining bullshit, like, crass content that lowers the standard for what is socially acceptable in terms of artistic and for lowering the standard for the artistic merit that something should hold in order to be played mainstream.
Back in the day, we had these things in the 90s. We had these things called boy bands, okay? And boy bands,
they still exist.
They still exist, but my point of reference is the 90s, right?
Yeah.
But these boy bands, they had to maintain these, like, squeaky clean, almost Christian-like images. If you know what I mean, like, they're like, they could these boy bands, if there had been, like, a Me Too for someone in like the Backstreet Boys or something, believe me, that would have been front page news. Okay, these guys had to be super careful. These guys were like Keanu Reeves with the arm, like, what I mean?
Not touching?
Never touches.
Yeah, never touches the ladies in a picture.
Never actually touches in the photos.
There was one of the Backstreet Boys songs where I remember, am I the only one? Yeah, am I sexual? Like, they used the word sexual, but it was like they were like these teen boys discovering that. But it was like, am I sexual? It was like a question almost, it was like they were discovering their adulthood or something like that. It wasn't going to the extent that Sexy Red goes. And even at that, it was a little bit controversial at the time, right? Like, they were sex symbols, and it was their sex appeal that was selling.
I mean, the worst examples I can think of from back in our day would be like that Sir Mix-a-Lot. Insert clip here.
I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny.
What's that Short Dick Man song from the 90s? You know what I'm talking? Don't want no short man.
Don't want no.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But those are as crass as it got back then.
Right, said Fred.
Oh yeah,
I'm too sexy for my shirt. So sexy it hurts. Yeah. There was a few of those, but they were not on the radio. I remember hearing a cassette of those once when I was, like, in elementary school or something, and it was like, oh my god, this is not something I should be listening to. I certainly wasn't 5 at the time and being exposed to this or asking for it by name.
I mean, I remember that song, You Gotta Lick It Before You Stick It, and we were all, like, sitting there giggling at the high school dance.
I don't know that one.
Oh, yeah? Okay, I'm going to play a clip of it right here.
Gotta lick it before we kick it. You gotta get it soft and wet so
we do freeze dance. You guys' daughters are twerking at 5. 5. Where's the parenting? Where's the boundaries? Where's the help? Y'all are not helping your kids. You're hurting them. You guys are hurting them.
You're hurting your kids.
You're hurting your
I
kids.
come every day dressed, ready to go, and I'm in school too. I'm in college. I mean, I put bows in my hair. I'm wearing leotards. I'm trying to get them interested in like proper things for their age, and you guys are exposing your kids to this raunchy secular music. Why is you guys' 5-year-old's daughter singing Pound Town? And it's just really, 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 it's upsetting.
In a time where more people than ever are opting out of being parents for what seem to be mostly selfish reasons, right? These people don't want to be inconvenienced with the burden of having to care for and pay for a child.
It's idiocracy.
Well, yeah. Well, no, idiocracy. No, not
Oh, we
idiocracy.
can't have a kid right now. The market's just not good enough. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Right.
I'm
No,
just
you're
not
right.
making the right amount of
You're
money.
right. You're
You know
right.
what? I haven't saved up. I haven't got the home yet. We
And then-
can't really have a
and then
baby right
Cletus-
now. Meanwhile, Cletus is like, oh, fuck yeah. Ooh, eh,
I'm fucking all of y'all tonight.
Oh, yeah. Fucking, you see his family tree is just spreading out like a fucking bush. Like,
With so many of these people who are kind of opting out for what I think are selfish reasons, like mainly, like I said, the amount of free time that they have, the amount of disposable income that they get to spend on themselves and their vacations and luxury items. I think that in this case, even a lot of the people who have had kids are so wrapped up in the culture of individualism and selfishness that they don't want to be bothered with the burden of parenting their own children. They want to dump them on the ballet teacher. They don't want to have to reprimand them because, hey, that's a headache. I'd rather not have a pissed off little daughter. I'd rather just let her do what she wants so that she keeps quiet and she doesn't bother me. And then so I can focus on what I want. These really are failed parents. These are parents that have failed to grow up. For me, a big part of what it means to have a child is that, like, for the first time, your life becomes about something other than you. For the first time, it is another life is more important than your own. And for a mature parent, you know, a good parent, I think all of us would agree, a good parent would be willing to die to save their child. And these people do not represent that at all. These people represent very, like, they don't want to be bothered. They just want their free time. They want an easy life. They want to focus on whatever's interesting to them, and they want to let the iPad raise their children. They want to let the school raise their children. They want to let the child raise itself. Like, it's a total failure to mature. For me, that's really what this symbolizes.
I've seen videos of women literally spiking their newborns like a fucking football so they can get in and fist fight with another woman. Like, I there's just, I don't know what happened. I don't know if this is the result of, like, the first wave of internet generation having their first wave of kids, or what the hell this is. But it's like
how invested in your own ego do you have to be that to not engage in a fight with someone who has challenged you is too much. You know what? Holding your baby? Sorry, baby. My ego's calling me to engage in a fist fight with this person. And so they drop the baby on the ground and then start smacking a woman. It's just like, what has happened? How have we all failed to grow up?
it's a race to the bottom.
Like, how many, like, I mean, I still feel like a kid in a lot of ways. I mean, like, I'm 38. I mean, you act like a kid in a lot of ways. Everybody I know
you're doing pretty well, dude. I don't know.
I mean, like, I've make a lot of efforts, but I still struggle with the discipline, which I feel like it's something that, like, it was a lot easier for earlier generations. And I think it's really a cultural thing. But I know, like, most people I know who are my age, are making really immature decisions and are unable to manage finances, are unable to pursue. I think it's really hard for a lot of people to make decisions on the basis of, like, to sacrifice gratitude in the moment for something in the future. And I think that's something that really comes with growing up. And I think we're a whole generation of people, starting at the Gen X, starting, kids who were raised in the 80s. We were the first generation that kind of, we got exposed to the internet when we were kind of already on the verge of being adults, right? I was already an adult when I really had access to it.
There was no Facebook until I was 25 years old. So.
But that really changed things. This internet culture, it just became so much about individualism. It became so much about performing. It was about performing who you are and then being received, being admired, being acknowledged for who you were. And it just became I don't know what happened, man. It's just so tremendously sad to see that so many people are failing to grow up. And even those who are having children, which to me, that's okay, that should be no question. You've had a child, now your life is about that child. Everything you do should be in the interest of giving that child a better life than you had. And these people just care more about their own free time. They care more about their own views they care more about their own social media accounts than they care about their child. In some cases, the egg cracking.
Oh my God, don't. I'm going to get tilted before the end of the video.
The egg cracking.
Okay. Just remember, okay? We'll leave you off on this, okay? Bill Gates, what's his name? Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk, none of them let their kids use social media. The largest computer company, the two largest social media companies, the people that are presidents of these things, they just don't let their kids use it. And that should tell you something. I'm Grundy. This is Jay. Be sure to like and subscribe. Our world is fucked.
For us, please take that like button to Pound Town. It's that slutty like button is just asking for pound to be pounded.
What's that like button wearing?
That slutty little like button is asking for a vicious pounding. So please, for us, like, share, subscribe. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you guys again soon.